Good evening. What a weird music. But thank you so much for joining me and happy Tuesday. I hope you had a good, restful day and you're ready again to watch the DNC or perhaps go in and out, watch some speeches, and stay until the end. Yesterday, I'm not sure if you stayed up until the very end. President Biden spoke. I think it ended past midnight, at least here on the East Coast. Eastern time, and then there was a prayer, and then there was a closing. So it really stretched out for a long time, but it was really worth watching. So I hope you did watch. If you haven't, today I'm gonna present some clips from all the speeches to you, and we will discuss day one at the DNC. Also discuss the Middle East, also discuss some current news that are happening. It will be short and brief, so you will be right on time to watch VP Harris delivering her remarks in Wisconsin at 9 p.m. Eastern, followed by the DNC. So if you don't know, I will be streaming today for the first time. Let's see how that goes. On YouTube and on X, first the remarks, VP's remarks, and then followed by the DNC, whatever is in prime time. I posted the entire lineup. So there will be several speeches from Bernie Sanders to Obama's and everybody else. So you can check it on my Twitter, and I also will put it in the description of every video. Now, if you would like to watch it with like-minded friends and real people like we did yesterday, we had so much fun. And we watched it together. So if you would like to join that kind of party, you can register and I'll send you a link. And the link stays the same for the entire duration of the DNC. So we're tuning in and you can chit chat with like-minded folks and watch it. Okay. So on this note, let's take a look at the DNC day one. So what did happen yesterday? Of course, we were anticipating the tribute to President Biden. And certainly that was the main notion and the main idea. But altogether, it was fresh, it was enthusiastic. They spoke a lot about Kamala Harris. In fact, when it just started, when the DNC just started, the first thing that did happen, which was unexpected even for the press poll, that VP Harris came on stage and delivered brief remarks, thanked everybody for being there, and really kicked it off. Take a look. So certainly remarks again, as mentioned, she thanked everybody, and kind of launched the convention. And of course, she was in the tan suit. And of course, the media on the right went viral and they're like wild, saying, well, it's a tan suit. It's a thing. It's an abomination, whatever. So anyway, it was fabulous. She looked absolutely great. By the way, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, if you want to dispute anything or comment on anything, please go ahead and comment. I have heard that yesterday on my live stream on Twitter or X, whatever, the comments were somehow not available. So let me know if that works today, because it's kind of tricky and weird. Anyway, so let's review some clips. If you watched everything yesterday, still, stay with me. Perhaps you haven't paid attention to certain things. We'll be brief. So the first clip I want to present to you is from the UAW leader. As we know, they did have endorsement for President Biden and Biden-Harris ticket. They also have immediately were one of the first to endorse a Harris-Walz ticket. And so the leader was there and he delivered a speech. And I want to present to you just 19 seconds out of his speech where he pretty much pointed out what is at stake and what's on the line. Take a look.
For the UAW and for working class people everywhere, this election comes down to one question. Which side are you on?
And certainly we know what the Trump Vance ticket stands for. They may talk the talk and they may, proclaim now that Project 2025 belongs to Kamala Harris. It's like the weirdest thing. I'll show you that email. But by the way, it was hilarious that somebody blocked me today for calling me MAGA. It's like, whoa, okay. Anyway, certainly not. And so what he sort of pointed out is that you have to decide which side of the democracy you're on. Or are you on the side of democracy, or you're on the side where pretty much everything will be sold out for $1, right, to anybody? And by the way, this leads me to the next speech, which is AOC. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she delivered a very powerful speech. I don't know how about you, but for me, it kind of reminded me on that 2004 Obama, where you knew, you had a feeling that this person has a future and this person is ready, almost ready, right? So it might take a few years, but she certainly will be there. And so she explained the difference between Trump, and she explained the difference between Kamala Harris. And in the first clip, she mentioned that we're ready and encouraged everybody to open the door to a new day, one that is for the people and by the people. And so she explained why and for whom is Kamala Harris. Take a look.
Because if you are a working parent trying to afford rent and childcare, Kamala is for you. If you are a senior who had to go back to work because your retirement didn't stretch far enough, Kamala is for you. If you're an immigrant family just starting your American story, Kamala is for you. America, when we knock on our neighbor's door, organize our communities, and elect Kamala Harris to the presidency on November 5th, we will send a loud message that the people of this nation will not go back. We choose a new path and open the door to a new day, one that is for the people and by the people. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Amen. And so another clip is that's the mention of Trump selling the nation for $1, or being ready to sell for $1. Take a look.
I see a leader who understands. I see a leader with a real commitment to a better future for working families. And Chicago, we have to help her win. Because we know that Donald Trump would sell this country for $1 if it meant lining his own pockets and greasing the palms of his Wall Street friends. And I, for one, am tired of hearing about how a two-bit union buster thinks of himself as more of a patriot than the woman who fights every single day to lift working people out from under the boots of greed, trampling on our way of life. The truth is, Don, you cannot love this country if you only fight for the wealthy and big business.
So, right, you can't fight for this country, or you can't say or claim you love this country if you're only fighting for the rich people or those that are on top. And by the way, if perhaps you are an NBA fan or not, perhaps you're a Michael Jordan fan or LeBron James, I guess that's the debate. But for me, it's not, it's Jordan. But this arena where everybody is gathered for the DNC in Chicago is very famous for being the home of the Chicago Bulls, right? The home of Michael Jordan and his teammates. So for me, who loves basketball and the history of it and NBA and everything, it was not a surprise that Steve Kerr was there, right? So he's fresh from Paris, right? Because he was the head coach of Team USA, men's basketball in Paris. They won gold. And so he took that as his main notion to talk about politics. And he mentioned that, look, how does it look like? In the NBA, you have teams, right, that are notoriously are fighting against each other, right? They hate each other. I mean, on the field or at the arena on the floor. Now, when it came to Team USA, everybody had to put their egos on the back burner and just unite together under the flag, under the American flag, and win for their nation. And so that was the main idea of his speech. And then by the end, he ended with a very famous. Well, I'll leave it up to you. But if you watch Steph Curry, whom he trains, you will certainly recognize his gimmick, I would say. But let's take a look at his speech and how he sort of connected sports to politics.
Imagine what we could do with all 330 million of us playing on the same team. Not as Democrats, not as Republicans, not as libertarians, but as Americans who know the greatness of this nation doesn't come from any one of us, but from each of us doing our part to build a more perfect union. That vision is what this campaign is all about. It's why I'm here tonight. And it's why I'll be getting out every day to help people get out and vote on November 5th and elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as the next president and vice president of the United States. And after the results are tallied that night, we can, in the words of the great Steph Curry, we can tell Donald Trump, night, night.
So if you ever watch Steph Curry, he always, shows that to opponents. But, I want to commend him because it takes so much courage, really, if you are in sports or if you are in business, you're not a politician, to stand up, to speak in favor of the truth, to endorse a candidate, because all of those, of course, are dependent on sponsors and, the politics of business. But he's there, he's endorsing her. It's not the first time he's doing that. So really kudos to Steve Kerr. Now, the next thing, the next big thing is Jasmine Crockett. And you know her from her fabulous, I would say, statements, performances even, in the right on the floor where she puts MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, in the corner and, slays. Now, she came up, she spoke, she started by delivering the resume, and she's like, okay, let's confirm, okay? So this is Kamala Harris' resume, and this is the rap sheet of Donald Trump. She's for the people, he is against the people. She's putting criminals in jail, he is raping people and is a criminal himself, right? So, and then she went really into a personal story. She shared a story where she came to Kamala Harris and she shared how insecure she was. And that is what Kamala Harris told her.
Your district chose you because they believe in you, and so do I. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Okay. The next month, I went viral for the first of many times to come for hitting Republicans with a dose of their own medicine. That brief but impactful interaction gave me my legislative legs, and I've been running ever since.
See? And this is really, when we say women supporting women, there's this hashtag and, but this is when you put that into action. I love it. I love it, and it's no disregard to man and man supporting man, men supporting women, women supporting men. I'm all for it. But when women are supporting each other in the same field, when we unite, when we not just talk the talk, but walk the walk and are there for each other, then we are invincible. right? So whoever might try, to put us into catfights and all that kind of stuff, when we unite, that is when change happens. And I hope for us to unite this November. I hope for us to unite already now. There is no need to wait for November. If you have anybody whom you can help with advice or whatever, do it. Do it. You know? Okay. And then, of course, the queen of the night, prior to the Bidens, Hillary Clinton. And you know what Hillary Clinton did for me? I don't know how about you, but for me, she showed me what we messed up, really. What we not just messed up, but missed out on in 2016. If only. And I understand she won by the votes, right? And this was not our fault, and right, it was different. But what we messed up, what everybody messed up with, right? We can blame Bernie, we can blame whoever, but none of that Donald Trump fiasco would have been happening up until now. She would have been finishing her second term, passing the torch or not, or whatever. Of course, I love Joe Biden. I mean, for me, it's the best president, and nothing. I mean, I doubt somebody can top him. But what we missed out on in 2016 is disgusting, honestly. To say she's ready, yeah, we were not ready, I guess. Sad. But first, she described the atmosphere. She was met with long standing ovations, with everybody supporting her and giving her so much deserved love. Take a look.
Wow. There's a lot of energy in this room, just like there is across the country.
Yeah, that zoom in at the end, questionable. Anyway, and then she really went in there to describe the difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Yeah, she calls him Donald. And remember, every time I see her and when she talks about Trump, I remember their debates where he was like towering behind her and that looked hella creepy. I'm sure he's not going to do that with Kamala Harris. I mean, she's going to turn around and give him something, I'm looking forward to those debates, really, both VP and presidential debates. That will be something. But take a look how she described what's at stake now.
On her first day in court, Kamala said 5 words that still guide her. Kamala Harris, for the people. That is something that Donald Trump will never understand. So it is no surprise, is it, that he is lying about Kamala's record? He's mocking her name and her laugh. Sounds familiar. But we have him on the run now. So, no matter what the polls say, we can't let up.
And for me, she gives me those queen vibes, like if you think Queen Elizabeth, that's where I see, Hillary Clinton at this point. And if you would ask me about Jill Biden, I think she's a diamond. When I look at her, she's always so shiny and bright. That's what my mind goes to when I look at her. But then Senator Warnock, he took us in a very different direction. Certainly a tremendous speaker, very difficult to follow, but he took us in the direction urging us to care and start caring about children, not just in the United States, but all over the world. Take a look.
I need my neighbor's children to be okay so that my children will be okay. I need all of my neighbors' children to be okay. Poor inner city children in Atlanta and poor children of Appalachia. I need the poor children of Israel and the poor children of Gaza. I need Israelis and Palestinians. I need those in the Congo, those in Haiti, those in Ukraine. I need American children on both sides of the track to be okay. Because we are all God's children. Let's work together. Let's organize together. Let's pray together. Let's stand together. Let's heal the land. God bless you. Keep the faith and keep looking up.
And by the way, to keep the faith, that was the phrase when um, we, or I certainly, was checking up on Biden when he had COVID. And from his team was always keep the faith, keep the faith. Not in terms of COVID, but in terms of staying in the race, because I was hoping, nothing will change his mind. And that was the notion, keep the faith, keep the faith. So we're keeping the faith for November now. Now back to the diamond. Flotus, our first lady, beautiful. When you look at her, think about diamonds. I certainly do. She, of course, standing ovation. She spoke about the values of Joe Biden, and how she fell in love with him and how she keeps falling in love with him. They've been together for almost 50 years. Take a look at the short clip from a longer speech.
Joe knows that our nation's strength doesn't come from intimidation or cruelty. It comes from the small acts of kindness that heal deep wounds, from service to the communities that make us who we are, from love of a country that shines with promise and renewal. Kamala Harris knows that too.
Beautiful. I mean, it was not the entire speech dedicated to President Biden, but it was really about him, but also about the next candidate. And of course, she's a woman endorsing another woman. It's a big step. And what my favorite picture was, if you were to ask me, from the convention, is this one. You see here, this is Tim Walz, and this is his wife, Gwen. And of course, VP and second gentleman. And she was holding up Jill. And then she posted on Twitter, she said, from one teacher to another, thank you. And it just, for me, those little things, right? When you notice this, that's when you get to know a person. When you see their values. She wasn't doing that for the camera. She wasn't doing that for Twitter wars or whatever. I mean, if you look at Walt's family, they're totally not flashy, not the entire mega crap thing. Me, look at me, intention. No. So, loved it. Loved the support. And then Ashley Biden introduced President Biden. First, she spoke about his love for service and how it affected her profession. Take a look.
His example in service inspired my career. I'm a social worker in Philadelphia. I support formerly incarcerated women as they heal from past trauma and they reclaim their lives. Dad always told me that I was no better than anybody else and nobody was better than me. He taught me that everyone deserves a fair shot and that we shouldn't leave anyone behind. That's what you learn from a fighter who has been underestimated his entire life. When I look at Dad, I see grace, strength, and humility. I see one of the most consequential leaders ever in history.
Some considered this phrase as a diss to, what's her face, Pelosi, that he's the most consequential leader. I don't think we have to go that low here. He is the most consequential leader. And when I tuned in today to mainstream media, just to see what the vibes are, and MSNBC was saying that Obama was the big president, Biden was transitional president, and now the next future is, and the big president will be the next one. And I'm like, how dare you sit your butt down, take several seats. What are you talking about? What Biden came into, he inherited a huge mess. Like, imagine you go into a hotel, you buy a hotel where somebody was having drug parties, right? Drugged out parties, everything is broken, everything is disgusting. And you come in, you have to clean it, present it, and make money with it, right? I mean, he inherited something horrible. After the pandemic, how the economy was, how we were, right? and then to build it up back down, and then also facing international threats. Think about China. Russia starts invading Ukraine, like all of that at once. And that's where he's leaving us off now. Have some respect, have some conscience, for God's sake. And so then she introduced President Biden, and they embraced. And take a look, it's very touching.
And now, this election requires the courageous hearts of all of us. In 2020, my dad selected Kamala Harris to beat Donald Trump. And he knows in 2024, she will beat Donald Trump again. So tonight, I am asking you, if you stood with us in 2020, call upon your courageous heart. Stand with us today. Work harder than you have ever worked before in your life. This is the fight of our lifetime. Our freedom, our democracy, our reproductive rights. All of this, all of it is on the ballot. And I know together we can do this because my dad helped show us the way. And now I would like to introduce my father, your 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Okay, Terry, to your comment, Biden would have beat, Donald Trump again. I have no doubt about that. Me neither. Me neither. Honestly, me neither. I really, and this is, by the way, I shared some full quotes with President Biden interacting with press. So when after everything was over, it was 12:13 past midnight Central, so 1:13 Eastern time. He was at the tarmac before he flew to California to spend some family time. And so he came to the media and said, "You've been waiting for me, so, ask me questions." And then, of course, CNN's, who was started, about Trump, and you said that he's this, he's that. And he said, well, he is not stable. Let's put it this way. So I stick to my comments. And then they asked him why he stepped down, and was Nancy Pelosi involved? He said, well, listen, this is my decision. I was shown pretty much the facts or stats that my decision to stay in the race would affect senators, representatives that are running for office, and somehow will affect them. So I didn't want you guys to focus on that, and hence give some bonuses for Donald Trump throughout the race. So it was his decision. And then he said, to the notion, could he win? And this is, Terry, where your comment comes through. He said, oh, wait. Yes, here we go. That's where your comment comes through. He said, look, you always believe that you can win, that you could win. And but he didn't want the entire media bubble to react on that and make our time horrible, and hence affect other Democrats that are representing the party. So did he mention how proud that made him feel to have his daughter introduce him? Yes. And so to your point, thank you. To your point, and I have it written here, when he was asked what was his most memorable moment from the DNC or from that day, he said Ashley's introduction. So, and that tells you everything. That tells you really, really everything. So many speeches, so many things, but this was the most touching moment. After a career that stretches over 50 years, if you haven't watched the tribute video, I posted it on Twitter, I will post it on YouTube. Please go watch it. It's 26 minutes, but it's with clips from 1972 when he was bombarded and harassed for being too young and not given money to run because he's young. They said, come back when you're 40. And so up until now, go watch. So he was met with standing ovation. Take a look. So that went for a while. And then the first thing that he did was thanking Jill Biden and calling her the rock of their family.
Thanks for the introduction and for being my courageous heart, along with Hunter and our entire family, and especially our rock, Jill. Who, as those of you who know us, she still leaves me both breathless and speechless. Everybody knows her. I love her more than she loves me. She walks down the stairs and I still get that going boom, boom, boom. You all will know me. No, I'm not kidding. Let's give a special round of applause to our First Lady, Jill Biden.
And then he spoke about core American values.
Okay. I know and believe in an America where honesty, dignity, decency still matter. An America where everyone has a fair shot and hate has no safe harbor.
Amen. And then he recognized what did happen in 2020 and how we united to save democracy.
That all of us are created equal is still very much alive. And a broad coalition of Americans joined with me. 81 million voters voted for us. More than any time in all of history. Because of all of you in this room and others, we came together in 2020 to save democracy.
Yeah. And so next he said why he initially ran, right? So when he took us back to 2020, what was his reason for running?
I also ran to rebuild the backbone of America, the middle class. I made a commitment to you that I be a president for all Americans.
And then he focused more on the future, talking about building better America.
We are uniting the country. We're growing our economy. We're improving our quality of life. And we're building a better America.
And the other thing, what I really cherished, that in his speech, he also included gun violence and the need to pass the common sense gun laws. So take a look.
If we care about public safety, we need to prevent gun violence. And what makes me ashamed when I travel the world, which I do, more children in America are killed by a gunshot than any other cause in the United States. More die from a bullet than cancer, accidents, or anything else in the United States of America. My God. That's why Kamala and I are proud. We beat the NRA when we passed the first major bipartisan gun safety law in 30 years.
Certainly more has to be done. And so finally, my final clip is when he talks about America being the land of opportunity.
Nowhere else in the world could a kid with a stutter and modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania and Claymont, Delaware, grow up to sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. That's because America is and always has been a nation of possibilities.
Possibilities. And so he finished by reciting the anthem. He said, "America, I gave my best to you." And amen, certainly. And I'm sure he also will continue giving his best up until January and beyond. I highly doubt that Joe Biden is somebody who will live a quiet life and not doing much, Sure, we're going to hear from him. And foreign policy, that's where if you were to ask me what that would be, foreign policy, I think that would be the case. And certainly would be a great addition to the Harris-Walz ticket. And if he could affect foreign policy go moving on forward. Um, did he mention? Okay, we read that. It was an amazing finish. Yeah, it was powerful, and it was something that you will revisit and watch again, right? I'm a nerd, so I watch like JFK debates. I watch, Nixon, Reagan. This is something that we will be rewatching. Certainly for me, not that address from the Oval Office when he stepped down. That's too painful. But this speech certainly. Which brings us to Nancy Pelosi. While all of that was going down, CNN, Jake Tapper, that never fact checked anything, was talking to Nancy Pelosi asking what went down between her and President Biden. Take a look.
Aside. And I know that it was very difficult for him. That's been made very clear by some of his top aides like Anita Dunn and Ron Klain. And there does seem to be, even though Anita Dunn said earlier today, quote, nobody wants to have a fight with Nancy Pelosi at this time, unquote, it does seem like there's some residual bad blood or resentment. And I'm wondering if you've spoken to him and what your response is to that.
Sometimes you just have to take a punch for the children.
And that's what you're doing right now? You're just going to take the punch for the children?
Who's punching right now?
I don't know.
Anita Dunn said...
I didn't even hear this. I'm just hearing...
It was an interview with me.
Maybe he's throwing the punch. I don't know.
No,
I'm not. I would never. But
she
Anita,
said she doesn't want to fight.
Nobody wants to have a fight with Nancy Pelosi at this time.
Well, you know what?
Have you talked to him?
I have
Is
to
my
do
only
what I have to do.
Right.
He made the decision for the country. My concern was not about the president, it was about his campaign. As he has seen the exuberance, the excitement that has come forth in our country. I just did an event for one of our members in Illinois, Eric Sorensen, today. Immediately, he got 1,100 volunteers into his campaign as soon as that announcement was made.
Nobody is questioning the fact that the Democratic Party seems much better positioned right now than it did 4 weeks and 2 days ago. There's no question about that. Former Speaker Pelosi.
So why are we even talking about it?
They put it on my script and they made me read it. They're holding
Ron Burgundy.
They're holding my cat hostage. Speaker Pelosi, thank you so much. We're about to show you a video.
They're holding my cat hostage. You are talking about it because that gives you links and clicks for the same stupid reason that the Daily Show, right? I told you it took very long time for Biden to speak, not because of Biden. That's what Daily Show was putting up as a haha moment. Here we go again, as if Joe Biden would have said, my fellow Americans, it's too late, I'm going to bed. Stupid. Not stupid funny like Punked or, those guys who were like, what do you call those things on MTV where they were like, piercing their butt cheeks and stuff. That's stupid and some people find it funny. No, this here is stupid. This here is harassment of an elderly person for no particular reason. I wish you would do your jobs. 1/10 of how Joe Biden is doing his. Shame on you. It's disgusting. Another disgusting thing, which is a short clip, I posted it on Twitter, but I want to draw your attention to it. With Middle East, right? And I just got a readout from Pentagon and from State Department. Blinken is now in Egypt. He's going to Qatar. On Thursday, they are again meeting and talking with Israel. Israel has agreed to the terms. Overall, Hamas is waiting. But also, this is happening in the background.
Yeah. We know that Secretary of State Blinken is over there right now working with Netanyahu. The reporting is that former President Trump is on the phone with the Prime Minister of Israel, urging him not to cut a deal right now because it's believed that would help the Harris campaign.
Yeah. And by the way, Keith, yes, jackass. Yeah, that was the thing. I lived in Germany at that time, and I hated it. I wanted music, and it was this guys with always naked butt cheeks for some reason. But back to Trump. This here is illegal. Yeah, you told me Logan Act does not apply. It's only applying if we are in a dispute with another country and somebody starts negotiating on the behalf and has nothing to do with our government. I get it. But there must be a law making this crap illegal. He is not in power. He is getting briefings. He is getting every single intelligence material he wants to, and he is feeding it to Netanyahu. And what, they're gonna wait until he comes to power, until January, so those hostages will be just remains from them will be returned, maybe, if any. First, he manipulated the hostages, right, that were freed from Russian prisons that Biden has negotiated, right, with the international partners and with Kamala Harris. But now he's doing this. And for Netanyahu, is just to stay in power. It's not about freeing hostages. It's not about starting your life or living, peaceful life, whatever. It's not about that. It's just pure, disgusting, cheap politics. I wish more people would talk about it. Speaking of Trump, remember that saga with the medals and honors, and how the woman that invested in him, and he gave her the Medal of Honor, and she's so beautiful and she's not missing limbs, and she's so better than our warriors that sacrificed their life and their freedom for our freedom. So, Pete Buttigieg. Take a listen.
And his military service. So former President Trump has defended his comments last week about the Civilian Presidential Medal of Freedom. And he said it's much better than the Congressional Medal of Honor, which of course is the highest decoration that you can receive in the military. You're a veteran. You served in the Naval Reserve. What's your response to that when you heard that?
It's just one more reminder of why he is unfit to be commander-in-chief. Look, I get that he just doesn't understand sacrifice. He doesn't understand the sacrifice of others. He doesn't understand what it means to put others first, which in the most heroic and courageous fashion is what those winners of the Congressional Medal of Honor do. But, it's of a keeping with Donald Trump's entire career. Remember, he used his status as a teenage multimillionaire to purchase a doctor's note to avoid going into service and let some working-class kid take his place in Vietnam. And decades later, he's still very much the same guy. The contrast could not be clearer.
I so wish for Pete to be press secretary, but for him is a step down. I think if you were to ask me, nobody's asking, but if you were, State Department, Secretary of State, just keep watching it. This is the policy, politics, but also negotiations, diplomacy, totally see it. Secretary of State, yes, that's what, basic grammar indeed. 100% interference, but I'm more concerned when he's offering Benjamin for cooperation. Indeed, that's like, Trump Tower in Israel for all of this. Who knows? Okay, another creepster, J.D. Vance. He was asked how he's preparing for debate with Walz. Take a look.
Back to my question. So Donald Trump has enlisted the help of Tulsi Gabbard to prep for his debate. I'd like to know how you were prepping for a debate with Tim Walz, who has described himself as a bad debater. Who's helping you, and how are you prepping?
Well, I found a good friend from back home who embellishes and lies a lot, and I'm having him stand in for Tim Walz. That's what we're doing during our debate.
Garbage. Tim Walz was running today. Take a look in Chicago. I'm telling you, this will be the fittest Secret Service ever. They will have six packs. They will be, on defense and everything. That will be fantastic. I'm telling you. Like J.D. Vance running across DC gives me a bit of a flashback from House of Cards when they were running. But that Secret Service, yeah, they will be in good shape. So lastly, let's talk quickly about RFK Jr. because his running mate went on an interview on a podcast, naturally, where she shared that they are about to step down. Take a look.
Two options that we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Walz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump and we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision.
why are you making that decision? I don't know your name. I know you are married to the Russian Google guy, Sergey Brin. So let's say ex Mrs. Brin, you were always a Trump extension. You were always there. They just didn't know from where you're going to get those votes. And so you're 6%, 4%, 3%. It's, depends on the state. You're getting it now from Trump, so you're going to go to them. If you were getting it from Biden at that point, or now Harris Walls, then you would be staying. You were always a satellite, a piece of whatever from Trump campaign. So don't sell us that you're going to decide and no, please. No, we'll never ever understand, that sort of notion. And look what Trump has been tweeting. Of course, this sort of creating down on her knee, all this shit show. And every time they tweet something, it's always below the belt line. It's always embarrassing. It's always weird. It's always disgusting. Use sarcasm. If you want to do something, use sarcasm. And I'm not sure if that was sarcasm, but now they call Kamala's Project 2025. That's what they have been tweeting about yesterday, all day, about Kamala's Project 2025. Weak. You are weak. Another email. That's supposed to be a fact check where you counted how many times they said Trump, border, economy, inflation, prices. Weak. Then you tweet about, Trump was talked about 130 times more than crime, inflation, border combined, because Trump represents all of those problems combined. He's like that nuclear threat that is just in your garden and you just have to get rid of it. Okay, so I will leave you with that. We will be meeting in our private watch party, or just tune in on X or Twitter or YouTube to watch first the Harris campaign remarks, and then followed by the DNC. So once she starts speaking, I start streaming right away. If you want to join us at the private party to chit chat with everybody, register, or you already have registered, and I see you in that Google Meet room. Another thing that I wanted to leave you with, I'm a nerd, so when my entertainment is always sort of around politics or journalism. So I really, really enjoyed this documentary on Netflix about Dan Rather. He talked about, certainly he's in his 90s now. And so very famous, of course, reporter, started in Texas, very famous Texan, but liberal as well. And he shared his story and how the media changed and how he runs the Twitter and Substack now, starting from, covering JFK's assassination and sort of becoming that type of known reporter from those times, and how he was the first one to, be on the ground. And also they talk about the DNC in 1968. So if you have time, it's an hour and some on Netflix. Take a look. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Trump Vance, say hello to your brother for us. My brother? I don't have a brother. How do we register? There's a pinned tweet on my Twitter. And just there's a link to register. Click there, and I get your email this way, and I'll email you the link. And by the way, if you already have a link since yesterday, it stays the same throughout the week. Okay, so let's do all that, and I see you once Kamala Harris starts speaking. I see you in the private room and on the live stream. Okay, all right, see you soon, and thank you so much for joining. I always forget to say, if you're not subscribed to Substack, please go ahead and do so. You get your emails and all the stuff that I talk about, plus more actual news into your mailbox. And if you have done that, thank you so much, and thank you for your support. Okay. And by the way, see you soon. All right. Thank you.